Mr. Levin, the legend. It's an honor talking to you. I'm Rafa, representing Kiss FM. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me on.
To begin, I'd like to ask you, how did the B.E.A.T project start? Who had the idea and who was responsible for bringing this super band together?
Thank you for the question. It was Adrian Belew many years ago had the idea. He wanted to revisit the wonderful music we did in King Crimson in the 1980s, and it was not easy to bring it about. COVID-19 came along and things like that, and then finding the right players to implement it. He really felt great when he found Steve Vai, who is a fan of Robert Fripp's parts and can not only play Robert Fripp's parts, but he can impart the Steve Vai feel to our show. That's very important. And then Danny Carey is a phenomenal drummer in Tool, of course. So we feel very good about the lineup. Once we had the lineup set, it still took a long time to get the first tour together because guys like us, we're very busy touring in bands. So when you say, okay, let's start a new lineup, and when can you tour, it becomes difficult to schedule it. So it took, I think altogether, it took Adrian 5 years to make it happen. We were very happy to do it. And once we started, we played 64 shows across the US and Canada. And now we're very excited to be bringing our music to Latin America.
And the band haven't played this year yet, am I correct?
Exactly. Yes, this will be. We finished the last tour at the end of December, and we went to our various other bands and things like that, and toured a little bit with other stuff. And we're about to reassemble very soon and begin again. Our first shows in 2025.
So you're about to start the South American tour in a few days. Luckily, thank God, Brazil is included on that. And what people
I agree. I agree. I was very glad to see it there.
And what people can expect in terms of creativity reinterpretation.
Yes, we do reinterpret the pieces. We play them kind of the same form, but the different players each play the way their heart tells them to play. So you're going to get the flavor. You're going to, for sure, recognize, if you know the pieces, the King Crimson pieces, but you'll very much get the flavor of Steve Vai, Danny Carey, and then there's me and Adrian Belew playing it somewhat like the way we used to in the 1980s. And even in the 80s when we toured, we listened, of course, to all of the live shows in addition to the albums, and we took it pretty far from the way the album was. We were very improvisational and creative, I think, in the 1980s. So we're continuing that vibe, that idea. And it's also a very good stage show. There's great lighting and a great look to the stage, something King Crimson never cared about, but that's an extra thing that we have on the B.E.A.T tour that I like a lot.
And can you tell me if the set list will be the same as your last year's shows in US?
I should be able to say, shouldn't I? But I don't know because we haven't discussed it. We're going to get together in only a few days, well, in about a week from now, and we'll discuss whether it's going to be the same. I'm guessing it's going to be very similar, if not exactly the same. We're going to do almost all the material from those 3 albums, Discipline, B.E.A.T, and 3 Are a Perfect Pair. We're going to do some extra King Crimson material to make the fans happy, and that's enough to fill up a very long show. So probably that's what we'll do.
And how is the rehearsal logistics working? Do you get together often? How does it work?
Well, we rehearsed a lot last August and September, a lot more than we needed, and that was good. We needed to do that because even though we knew each other's playing, we're a new band getting together for the first time musically, and it's different than discussing it. You need to rehearse. So we did that then. Then we did 64 shows. That's a lot for one tour, for a leg of a tour. We really got it down, and we're very happy with it. So did we get together since then? No. In fact, we enjoyed going back to our other bands. And I've done a tour, only one tour so far this year with a different band. And now we're going to get together, and of course we'll rehearse. Not a lot. We don't need a lot. We know the notes, and we know the feel, and we know each other's playing, but we'll rehearse some before our first show in Monterrey, Mexico. And that's when I'll find out what the set list is going to be and hug the guys because it's going to be good to see them again. It's been 3 or 4 months.
You mentioned you rehearsed a lot. What do you mean a lot? Just for measure.
Good question. I think first we booked 2 weeks to rehearse, and then we added another week and a half, so 3.5 weeks.
3.5 weeks.
Yes, for players at this level, what would be normal in my experience is 1 week. 2 weeks is already, oh, okay. We know the
Yeah,
notes. When we come in, we can play all the pieces. There's nobody who didn't do their homework, we call it. But yes, we needed that time just to get used to, okay, you know how the song goes, but what about when somebody does something that didn't belong in the song, or maybe makes a mistake, especially me, I make a lot of mistakes.
come
So the
on.
guys want to know how to react to that, and you don't want to find out on the first show that stuff. So the more you play together, the more you gel. Hopefully, you gel together. The more you understand each other's playing, and in a way, the more fun you have. Of course, it's exciting when you don't know what's coming, but it's a lot of fun when you kind of know this guy, the player, and you know he might explode. Danny Carey might at any minute explode on the drums and do something he never did before. Okay, good to know that before the first show.
I saw your interview with Rick Beato.
Now, Tony, will you need charts when you go into rehearsals in a couple of weeks or no?
That's a good question. My relationship with charts is.
Would you like to go in with no charts, but you might need some for a couple of days?
Oh yeah, I would like that.
Yeah.
And did you actually end up needing the charts for the rehearsals?
Oh,
The music sheets.
This is typical of me. I forgot what I said in the Rick Beato interview and what I said about that.
Sorry about
No, I did. I probably less homework than anyone else in the band because I knew the material and the bass parts were not that hard. I had to rehearse the singing a lot because there's not a lot of singing for me. The background singing, Adrian is the lead singer, but I didn't remember the vocals and the lyrics and I don't quite sing as high anymore. So I practiced that a bit, but I practiced enough that I did not need charts. No, thank you for remembering that.
And which one was the hardest, in your opinion, the hardest song to
That's
recover?
a very, very good question. I'm going to say I'd have to look at the set list. While we're talking, I'm going to try and find the set. I don't even know where the set list is. I don't have a good answer for that, but
Okay.
some of the pieces went very easily, and some of them were hard in surprising ways. But especially the hard ones were where I play both sides of the stick. The Chapman stick that I play has a bass side, it has a guitar side, and with King Crimson, sometimes I played on both in different time signatures, so there's not the same guy at all. And getting that back under my fingers was tricky.
Talking about that, the Chapman Stick. Could you tell us the story of the first album you took it on?
First of all, I'm in my studio, but I don't see it out. It's in its case, but it's here in the room with me. Yes, I was one of the early players of it in 1976. I got it, and very unusual for a bass player to have it. It has a different sound, but that appealed to me, and it has different tuning, as I mentioned, and that appealed to me. So it's not for everybody. And then in July 1976, I went to the Peter Gabriel recording sessions. Peter had just left Genesis and was doing his first solo album, and I took out the Chapman Stick, and the producer said, I don't even want to see that. Put it back in the case. He said, so that's the first session I brought it to, but I didn't play it on that first album.
Bob, what's the name of the producer? Bob
Ezrin. And
Yeah,
many
yeah,
years
that's
later, yeah, great producer. I did a lot of things with him. And many years later, on a Pink Floyd album that I was playing bass because Roger Waters had left the band, he asked me to play the Chapman Stick. He said, "Oh, Tony, can you bring the Chapman Stick? I want you to play that on this one piece." So that's full circle. We went full circle.
it's 12 strings, I guess.
Yes, 10 or 12. Mine has 12. A lot of
12
them have
strings.
10, but that's enough. There were 6. Mine has 6 bass strings and 6 guitar strings and a stereo output. So really it is like 2 instruments. You have different amplifiers for each side and different pedals and things like that.
And I heard you saying that it's quite easy to play, right?
Well, technically it's very easy because you don't need to, if a guitar, you need to fret the note with one hand and then you need to pluck it with the other hand. This one you don't need to. You just hit between the frets on any note and that's your note. So it's easier technically. For most of us, it takes a long time to get used to it because even though it's technically easy, it's not like any other instrument we played, so it takes some time to learn it. Unless it happens that you played the bass. In my case, I played the bass with hammer-on technique, with the same technique, so I had a very easy time learning it because I had been playing that way on a different instrument, and the Chapman Stick just made, because it has very low action, the strings are strung low, so it's made to be played that way. So in a way, it was easier than playing with hammer on the bass.
It's impossible. Lots of people say it's quite impossible to play.
Can I tell you something? If I see, I don't watch videos really of myself, but if I see myself playing the stick, it looks impossible to me. Something about seeing it backwards from the front, it looks harder than it is from the back from actually playing it. At least that's my feeling about it.
And is it true that during the Peter Gabriel sessions that you met your bandmates?
Yes, on that same day, I met Peter Gabriel. This is 1976. I met Peter Gabriel. I met Robert Fripp, who was playing on a guitar on Peter's first solo album, and that was 76. I am still making music with both of those guys. So how many years is that? It's amazing. What a lucky day that was for me.
The funky fingers technique. What's the story behind it?
Well, first of all, I will be using the funk fingers for one piece in maybe one or two pieces in our show, even though they were not invented in the 1980s. In 1985, with Peter Gabriel, we recorded the album called So, and on one piece, I asked the drummer, Jerry Marotta, who I just had breakfast with, by the way, here in Woodstock. I asked him to play drumming on the bass strings while I did the fingering with my left hand. That's the way we did that piece. Big Time, it was called, the piece, on the album. Okay, then the following year when we were playing it live, I thought, well, how am I going to do this? I can't be the drummer with both hands and the bass player with one hand.
Yeah, just hold the bass.
Exactly, yes. How am I going to do? And he was busy playing the drums. He couldn't do what he had done. So I was practicing all the time at sound checks with one drumstick in my hand. And one day Peter Gabriel walked by and saw me again, as usual, practicing. And he said, Peter said, why don't you put two drumsticks on your fingers, attach them to your fingers? And I did. And I thought of Velcro and cutting the drumsticks in half. And that became what I named funk fingers. And that's how ever since I play them. Sometimes like that. And I cannot play as fast and as technically as difficult as a drummer can play easily, but still I can it's a little bit like thumb slapping, but a little different also and very percussive. And it's a very useful tool for me to have as a bass player. I've played it on a number of songs, but most songs I do not play it on. It's only when the piece seems to call for it, or funk fingers.
I see. It was like a way to increase the attack of the slapping, maybe. That's what the idea.
It is that, but it didn't come about because of that. It just came about because I just felt like asking the drummer to play on the bass and then trying to reproduce that. So it came about in a kind of circular, strange way, not intentional. But sometimes in music, sometimes things that are not intentional come out very well, and also different than what you can plan. You have your mind, you can plan so many things, and sometimes it's a help to have accidents happen, good musical accidents.
Mr. Levin, such an honor talking to you. Hope you have a wonderful time here in Brazil.
Thank you.
And we are so excited to see what B.E.A.T has to show us.
Well, thank you so much. I hope to see a lot of your fans at the show, and it'll be, as always, when I come there, it'll be a great pleasure for me.
Kiss FM. Não deixe o rock sair de você.